Hi everybody, my name is Manan Puri and I'm the co-founder of Strategy for Gmat. Today we're going to be talking about BITSoM School of Management. It's the newest B school from the BITS family, which has given us a lot of unicorns. Now they'll give us MBAs, who will then end up, starting unicorns. And today we'll be talking about the school, the admissions criteria, and a lot of other things, and specifically student experiences as well. And we have three current students from there who will be talking about their journeys and what exactly is life like at BITSoM right now. Just for context, the school started last year with its first batch, and it's a two-year program. Last year was an overwhelming response in terms of number of applications and the kind of engagement that they had with the prospective applicants. And this year they have already finished their or almost finished their internships with good numbers and good kind of companies coming in, and which the students will be talking about. So without further ado, let's get started. And I would now ask you guys to give your introduction. So let's start with you, Supriya.
Hi, Manan. So I grew up in Mumbai and I did my undergrad at New York University's campus in Abu Dhabi. I got a full scholarship to study there. And it was a liberal arts program, so I majored there in philosophy and psychology. I graduated in 2019 and then I went on to do a master's degree in the philosophy of science at Cambridge University in the UK. And after completing that in 2020, I returned to Mumbai and I worked in marketing for a year at an edtech company called Job before joining BITSoM for my MBA this year. My summer internship placement is at the Hershey's company, which of course makes Hershey's chocolate. And outside of my academic and work experience, a hobby that I'm really passionate about is writing, especially humor and comedy. And I'd love to write a sitcom someday, actually.
Great, and probably that's based in a B school, I'm sure, with all the experiences that you've been having so far.
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
great, great. Shashank?
Hi, so my name is Shashank Jain. I'm a chartered accountant. I've graduated in commerce from Jain College. I've done my articleship in a mid-sized CA firm where I got an opportunity to work in different fields like direct taxation, indirect taxation, and a bit of audit, which I used to find boring, to be very honest. After qualifying, I joined ICICI Bank. There, I joined the business team of theirs in the SME department. We were supposed to assess the credit worthiness of the client and then onboard the client who were in need of working capital or project finance. I have played cricket professionally for 8 years of my life. I've also captained my school and college cricket team. I've played club cricket. I've got mentions in different newspapers like TOI, Mumbai Cricket Association websites, Free Press for my performances. And currently, I've got an internship with the Aditya Birla Group, the summer internship program of theirs. So I'm looking forward to it. And my hobbies are obviously to play cricket. I can play cricket at 3 in the night, 4 in the morning.
And yet you are in an MBA program and not at the IPA.
Yes, and just to tell you, we have a plan at 10 in the night.
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, Samarth?
Hi everyone. So my name is Samarth Mishra. I grew up in Ghaziabad, and just like any other student who takes science stream in school, I did take that and then pursued my engineering. I did my engineering from NIT Surathkal, which is 2,000 kilometers away from my home. After graduating from NIT Surathkal, I joined Samsung R&D as a senior engineer, and there I was working in their 5G team. I was particularly involved in developing the RAN networks for Tokyo Olympics 2020, which happened in 2021. And was that I joined BITSoM, and I am placed in OYO rooms in their strategy team. And I will be joining them this summer. Apart from my academics and professional life, I am passionate about fragrances and perfumes. I write about them, blog about them on Instagram. So those of you who are interested can go check them out. Thank you.
Great, great. So, as you guys can see, there are three different profiles here, and we'll be talking about their journeys and going. And also, they took three different routes to enter BITSoM through CAT, GMAT, GRE. So, you can join the school through all these measures, and the idea here was to bring you, the diversity that the school has to offer, and give their perspective. So there is something for everybody. So the first question I would want to ask is, why did you guys choose BITSOM? First year, you won't know what's happening and all that, right? So what was the trigger of choosing? So anyone can go first.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. So, I decided that I wanted to do an MBA, and so I applied to a few different MBA colleges here. I applied to some of the IIMs. I was actually accepted to IIM Kozhikode as well, but there were a few reasons why I felt that BITSOM was a really good fit for me. So first, it was the faculty. A large proportion of the BITSOM faculty are visiting from business schools abroad, and I had studied abroad for my undergrad and masters, and I really enjoyed that kind of teaching style. That's something I wanted in the MBA as well. In fact, a few profs at BITSOM, a few visiting profs are from my alma mater, so from NYU itself. And so I knew from first-hand experience that the academic experience was going to be really great at BITSOM. And the second thing is that the fact that it was a really young college is something that actually appealed to me a lot. In my undergrad as well, I was in a pretty young college. It was only 4 or 5 years old at the time. And when you're in a young college like that, you get a chance to really shape the culture, to make an impact, to do something tangible. You get to build something from scratch. And that's something that was exciting to me. And I think the third factor was the strong emphasis on diversity in the student body. So as I was getting to know the college, it became very clear to me that they really genuinely cared about diversity. They appreciated that and they understand the value that it can bring. And I personally also believe that there's a lot that people from different backgrounds can bring to the table, especially in an MBA program. So for me, all these three things really set BITSOM apart. And then the cherry on top was that I received an 80% merit-based scholarship to attend this college, and that really sealed the deal for me.
Right, right. Okay. Any one of you, Shashank or Samarth, you want to add something?
Yeah, sure, I'll go ahead. So, as Supri has mentioned, all the merits of what we saw in BITSOM while making that call. I personally believe that because the school was in the founding year, I personally feel that we would have more sense of ownership in building the school. I mean, you don't get to build a college every day, and we won't be a one forgotten batch at one of those batches. So that was one of the major factors. And apart from that, one of the things that really played a big role was Bits Pilani's already established name, which gave that backing. And I was pretty confident that there were prospects that positive outweighed the drawbacks, and therefore I thought that was a good call to take.
Right, right. And I think one more thing that I generally tell prospective candidates is that at least in the short term, this will pan out well because the school success is in your success, especially when you start, right? So they'll make sure, and a lot of people are only here for placements and all that, sadly so, but that will work out definitely well. And as you can see from the internships as well. Right. I just want to know more about the teaching experience so far that you guys have had. The faculty and the model itself. It's called what was it? Block teaching method. So, what is it about? What is the feedback from the students, and how does it really go about?
Okay, I'll take that one. I'll talk about two things. One of the faculty, the curriculum experience, and second one about block teaching. First, I'll take the block teaching part. So, block teaching, as you would have already read about it, you take one subject at a time, you immerse totally into it. And once you finish that, then you move on to the next subject. Unlike other B schools, it's not like you cover multiple subjects at a point of time. So it has its pros and cons. Pros is that you completely focus on something, of one thing, and then you totally immerse yourself in it. A few drawbacks that we saw even when we just began our journey was that even if you move one of the components of block teaching a little here and there, it kind of clogs up the further calendars and it becomes a little stressful for the further blocks. For example, one of the assignments spills over to the other block, it becomes really stressful. So that's kind of the drawback of block teaching. Other than that, it has been a fantastic experience because you can totally focus on one thing. Coming to the faculty part, I mean, we had thought the global faculty would be of a certain kind, and it has exceeded our expectations. For example, when BITSoM began, it began with the rockstar faculty, Professor Rohit Dev, who taught us business statistics, who is the chair of statistics at NYU Stern. Then Professor Piyush Kumar from Terry School of Business for Marketing, Professor Louis Martins, who taught us management of organization from Mecum School of Business. So these are great faculties, and it has been an incredible experience studying from an all-round faculty. Uh, one of the drawback that we saw during the program as program started panning out was the timing issues. There were some classes that were 7 in the morning and other classes that went on to 11 at night. So they were not in your traditional class college timings from 9 to 5. So that was kind of the thing that actually bothered a few people, but then there was a trade-off in having the best faculty in the world and having your convenience. So I think that panned out really well with time.
Right, and I have studied from the couple of professors that you talked about at ISB, so yeah, really vouch for their quality as well. And what about the diversity of the class? You talk about it, but what exactly is it like? While studying and all that.
Right. So diversity is a really important component, I think, of the student experience here. And we have the numbers. So 33% of the class is not from an engineering background. But that's just a number. The actual administration does everything that they possibly can to help us benefit from this diversity. It's not just like a statistics thing. So, for example, we have study groups here, and I'm sure you have study groups at every V school. But the administration has created study groups of about 5 people in each group. And just to give you an example of my study group, we have one person who's an entrepreneur and a commerce graduate. We have a civil engineer. We have someone from a business administration background, an architect, and then me from a philosophy and psychology background. So you pretty much have every single discipline represented in one 5-person group. And I don't think you'd find a group that diverse in many of these schools. And having people from these diverse backgrounds, I found really helps you think through ideas from multiple perspectives because everyone's bringing a different skill set to the table, right? And so that kind of elevates the quality of what we do, elevates our group projects as well. So, for example, having a commerce student in our group was a blessing with our financial accounting and finance courses. And then having an architect really helps bring that design thinking perspective. So everyone brings something unique to every single project. And the one thing that's really amazing about BITSoM is that the students are really good at leveraging this diversity themselves because they really appreciate it. So we have students taking the initiative to host workshops and sessions in their areas of expertise. Students have had sessions in Excel modeling and creating presentations. We've had economics and finance tutoring sessions before exams. So I think everyone's really good at taking advantage of that diversity.
Great, and I'm sure Shashank is one of the more wanted men in the campus when it comes to finance courses. Okay, so I think a lot of questions that we received were around placements and all that, which obviously is a bit far right now, next December. But how have the internships been? Could you throw some light around numbers and the kind of companies that come in and the entire process? And again, realistic picture around things. I'm sure there'll be press release soon, which will talk about all the good things. But I want the real picture here. So
So yeah, I'll take this one. So in BITSoM, the summer internship process by nature has been in rolling. So basically, as and when the companies come, students have been interviewed and they get selected. So by now, 95% of the batch is placed, and till now, the average or the median stipend is around 1.6 to 1.65 lakhs for 2 months. The highest stipend has gone up to 3.2 lakhs for 2 months. And as far as the domains are concerned, different industries, domains are concerned, I think we have everything covered up. Like, for example, in consulting, we had 30 students placed in companies like Bain, all the big fours, ADL, AT Kearney. We had FMCGs like Hershey's, Supriya is one of them. We had HUL, we had conglomerates like the ABG Group, we had Oyo Rooms, we had Tata Consumers, Tata Capital coming in. So I think we had everything covered. There were banks which had come in. There was ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, ICICI Pru, AMC. We had a few Ps and VCs coming in. We had one IB, which we had one company which had come in for an IB role, Avista. We had Servant Ventures, which is basically a VC based in Silicon Valley. So I think more or less we had everything covered, and the placements have been great, beyond, I would say, beyond expectation for a first year batch. And as far as the process is concerned, I would say the process has been really very smooth, and the entire credit has to be given to the career services team. They have been, not only career services team, the entire staff has been very responsive, responsible, efficient. They have been getting back to us on time, and they don't just leave our mails unreplied. So I would really give this credit to them. And apart from that, I think the placement process more or less uh, is, I would say, everyone's happy with the process, I would say.
All right, good to know that almost all disciplines are there, and like usual schools, finance, on specifically PVC, IB. There's a nature of the industry, not a lot of movement there. So right, and in terms of extracurriculars or campus experience as a whole, I know that the campus is not yet the final one that you guys are on. So are you missing the campus experience, and and what are the kind of drawbacks there?
So, as far as campus is concerned, we do not have a campus as of now. But since we have taken all the precautions, and since the college is open, we have a few events lined up in the college itself, like few clubs taking up initiatives and having their own programs in the college. So, I think it's a trade-off, I would say. Like for the first few months, we were accommodated in a five-star hotel. So I would say it's like a trade-off. You don't have a campus, but you have the other perks.
Okay, and so what about things around, for example, you're playing cricket or facilities, which usual campus would have, like a swimming pool or a cricket ground or table tennis and other things. So you guys still have that or not?
So where we are living right now, we have different facilities. Like we have a ground, we have a basketball court, we have squash, we have a badminton. I would say badminton court. We have a gym. So students use that. And as far as a campus is concerned, I would say the one benefit of not having a campus is there are no timing restrictions.
Okay, okay. So you can anytime go to South Bombay and Marine Drive and stuff like that. Okay, great.
And
Yes.
just to add to what Shashank said, so yeah, we're currently in a residence that's about 5 kilometers away from where we study from our campus, and we do have transportation. So we have the institute organizes a bus for us to go back and forth for offline classes, and our offline classes are just about starting. They've just kind of started now, and it would, of course, it would be great to have an accommodation that was sort of right on campus. So you're living where you were studying. That would be really nice. That's something I had in undergrad, and that's always a great experience because the transition is really seamless between work and study, and just social experiences. But I think everyone's making the best of it in terms of student life. We have some great clubs. We have professional clubs and hobby clubs, from consulting and finance to theater, music, sports. They host events, which are really fun as well. So yeah, while it would be really nice to have the residence right where the campus is, I think we're doing a good job in creating something there that's fun for everyone.
Okay, okay, good, good. And one of the major things that a B school would have, and in general, is a strong alumni network, which you guys are obviously the first one, so I'm sure you're devoid of that. So how are you guys making up for that, and how are things being done around managing a lack of quote unquote mentoring from somebody who's been there, done that?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So it's around the mentoring part, right? So So what has happened is we are being mentored by industry stalwarts here. So all of us are actually tied up with an industry, uh, basically an industry leader, and they are trying to shape up our career in the way that they are giving us the guidance as to how what things fit for us, and what things are better for us. And therefore all of us are put into with a unique, it's not like everyone gets the same mentor, and they are being matched with what our profiles are. So that's a great way to interact with them, understand how, where our shortcomings are lying, and improve on them. So it has been a great experience for me so far, because my mentor specifically is in Mumbai, so he has also invited me to meet him, and he's taking all the three mentees who are under him, and we're just developing. And it's just not like for a month or 2 months. It will go on for like a year. So there will be considerable improvement to what I am right now to what I will be a year later.
Okay, and what about alums? A lack thereof in terms of somebody who's been there, done that. So are the bits alums coming in and interacting with you guys, or there isn't much? And of course, for the next classes that come in, you guys will be there and all that. So what's happening around that?
So as far as like Samarth mentioned, we have industry mentoring, but like you mentioned, we do not have a senior batch to guide us. So senior having a senior batch is always a good thing, because you can go to them at 12 o'clock in the night before the interview, which is not possible. I would say it's not possible to call an industry leader at 12. So that's there. That's obviously I would say a drawback of a first batch. Apart from that, I think I would give credit to college, because they've also kept sessions, interview preparation sessions, GD sessions to prep us. But yes, this drawback will always be there for a first batch, that you do not have your seniors to guide you at the last minute, a minute before the interview, to tell you what kind of questions will be asked in the interview. So that's there. As far as BITS alums are concerned, I think it's been great interacting with them. They reply to us timely. Like, for example, Samad's study group had called, I think, the CEO of some Servant Ventures for some interview. I'll just take you through the process. So there, we were supposed to interview an industry leader or any sports person to just brush up our interview skills. So there were people from industries, different industries. Like Samarth had called up a VC. I had interviewed someone who was an Olympian who had gone to Olympics Tokyo 2020. So I think people are very welcoming about this institute. People know about this institute, and they are genuinely replying and interested to have a dialogue with us.
All right. Okay. Great. So, all good things, right? Now I have to put you on the spot, and each one of you at that. What do you not like about it so far? And absolutely no diplomatic answers, guys. It can't be perfect.
Yeah, I'll start. I'll take the bullet first. So initially in the beginning there were a few housing issues, and we were sort of dealing with it in the beginning, but the management was receptive to our feedback, and we had to actually figure out issues and give a solution for them as well. So when you are in the first year of the school, you are a part of it. You are as much as a stakeholder as the people who are driving the college forward. So we were dealing with those issues, and but it sort of it sorted out with time. Another thing, as these guys pointed out about the campus, sure there are good things about a temporary campus, and you have all the facilities, but yeah, we do miss it. There, for example, the bus is arranged from the residence to the college, but in a real campus you can actually go to the class last minute just by getting out of the bed and going there.
Yeah.
But for now it isn't the case. You have to be a little punctual, and that's but I'm pretty sure when the real campus comes up, not the real campus, the full-time
You.
new campus comes up in 2023, these things will be in line. Other people can add if they want to.
Yeah. So hand on heart, how many people miss the bus every day?
I think about 10%.
Not bad.
Because the buses are also in two batches,
Oh, okay.
so you get a second chance if you miss the first one.
Okay. Right.
So
Okay.
one thing which I already mentioned, like not having an alum base is one major drawback, because when you prepare for interviews, it's very difficult to cover everything holistically. Like we do not know what to study, from where to study, what are the materials, from where do we get, like for example, for an investment banking interview, what am I supposed to study, what are the materials, what kind of questions do they ask. So you got to run to different people to get all these things in place. So that is one of the major drawback which I faced recently, apart from what obviously Samarth said, packing bags, going from here to there. So that's one of the major issue. I think Supriya will have one more to add.
Sure.
Everyone
Yeah.
needs to take everyone needs to take one bullet.
One bullet. Yeah.
If, yeah, you
Okay.
can take two or three as well. It's fine.
Sure.
Add more.
Okay, so one thing is something that someone's already mentioned in answer to a previous question. I think the pace and the workload is a lot, which to some extent is true, of any B school. But what's unique about BITSoM is the block teaching method. So a course that will usually happen over one semester is happening in 2 weeks, and the amount of content you're learning in one course is the same. So it's just a lot more accelerated, and every single day is really intense because you have an assignment every couple of days. Consistently, you have exams. We also have a lot going on outside of the classroom, the club and committee activities, live projects. So we're kept busy 100% of the time. In fact, right after this call, I'm going to have to finish a 1,500-word essay that's due at midnight. So that part is a little bit stressful, but as someone mentioned, it's a trade-off, right, between getting the best faculty and having to work these extra hours. And the second thing I can say is, so this isn't an issue, I think, in the long term, but maybe it's something to consider for the next few years, is that after you graduate from BITSOM, it is something that you will have to explain to people, right? You have to sell it to people. It's not like the IIMs, ISP, people know those B schools, but not everyone is going to be familiar necessarily with BITSOM, and the responsibility of explaining it really well is ultimately going to be yours. So when you graduate from BITSOM, you're not just an alumni. The role of ambassador is kind of thrust on you, and that's something you have to be willing to accept and embrace and run with. So yeah, those are the couple of points I would say.
Good. So after the first point, I was about to, just say that you're the most diplomatic out of the three, but the second point definitely hits home because yes, you will have to do that. Starting now, in fact. So definitely, being brand ambassadors of the school, and more importantly, presenting a realistic picture is something that's very, very important. Now, you mentioned about the strenuous curriculum and too much to do, etc. So, how is the class taking it, right? Class competition, and what kind of things are there happening? How competitive it is, and any light, and you can throw your light on that.
Yeah, I can go ahead. So Maran, you're going to call me diplomatic again, but this is 100% true. I think the class is just so incredibly collaborative. It's something I was honestly really surprised by. It's really amazing how lovely and kind this batch is, and how nice everyone is, and how much people are willing to learn from each other. So I already mentioned the diversity aspect, but apart from that, I think that everyone really wants to elevate each other, lift each other up, and give everyone as much help as they possibly can. So during placements, when some students were already placed, they would create one pagers about companies to help those who were not placed do their research. We had a presentation skills course recently, and that was in small groups. It was on campus, so it allowed for feedback in small groups, and I was really amazed by the outstanding quality of feedback. Everyone really wanted to help everyone else improve and be the best presenter they could possibly be, and so I thought that was really heartening. So I'm really happy with how collaborative this batch is.
Okay, that's great and good to know. I think very, very important, especially for the first class, to do that. Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would just add the placements part. What Supriya has already mentioned. There is a fair bit of competition, just like in any B school in the world. But as also Shashank mentioned, that we did not have any seniors. But during the internships, while the people were getting placed, They were not just going out and celebrating. They were helping the people who were not placed have the mock interviews, review the resume, what could the potential questions be, studying the company along with them, and seeing that what could be the talking points and how could you go and grab that offer. So that was there, and you could clearly see the stats of how many people have placed. I think 95% of our batch has the internship now. So extremely collaborative, but at the same time competitive as well.
Great, great, good to know. So now we have been getting certain questions, particularly around the admissions side, and you guys have been there, done that. So, what how any particular tips with respect to how to present yourself in the application you would give to the prospective students? That's actually part two of the question. Part one is what exactly is the selection criteria that the school has?
Yeah, I can take that. So for BITSoM, there's a written application and then there's an interview if you're shortlisted. And for the written application, you have to fill in your academics, internship experience, work experience, extracurricular achievements, and leadership positions of responsibility. And then you have 3 essays to write as well, with a word limit of about 500 words. And so the people reviewing your application have given different weights to each of these aspects. We don't know what those weights are, but they have particular criteria that they look at. They evaluate all these aspects, along with, of course, your academics and your CAT, GMAT, or GRE scores, depending on what you've submitted. But in the case of my tips, so I have one like big picture tip is that before you start your application, I think you should sit down and really think about what are my values and my principles. Am I curious? Am I conscientious? Am I loyal? You have to think about your goals, not just your career goals, but also who you want to be as a person after you finish your MBA and 10 years in the future. What are your self development? What are your learning goals? And only when you're clear about all of this should you actually sit down and write your application. And the reason I say this is because BITSoM places a really big emphasis on self awareness. So that's something our dean talks about a lot, creating self aware leaders. And if you can show that you're already self aware, you have that edge, I think, in the application. If you can show that you know your strengths and weaknesses. In terms of the essay, I know it's about 500 words. Three 500-word essays can be intimidating, I think, if you're not used to writing. But the goal there is not to just write as much as you can and get to the 500-word limit. They say 500 words because they want to see a little bit of depth. They want to know your story. And so, for a question like why MBA, you can't just say, I want to do an MBA because I want to be a brand manager, so I want to learn everything about marketing. You have to say why you're interested in marketing. What excites you, why you're inspired by it. Is there an incident from your life that's really relevant here? So, your voice and passion really needs to come out clearly there. If you can manage to show some insight and reflection in less than 500 words, that's fine. The point is to show that you've given it some thought and you understand your own decisions. So that's what I'd say for the written part of the application.
I
Okay.
would like to
Great.
add one thing.
Yeah.
One thing which, in my opinion, admissions committee is looking for is your story, is your true story. Say, for example, you've scored a little low in your, say, graduation or 10th, 12th. It's okay. Why have you scored low? What have you done after that? What have you done to overcome that? It's about your own personal journey. You need to be true in the essays, is what I personally feel. You need not picture, you need not be a very rosy in the application, is what I personally feel. You got to be very true.
Right. And then specifically on the interview process, is it taken by BITS alums? Is it by the admissions team? Who takes it, and what's usually the pattern that they follow?
Right. So for our interviews, we actually had so different people had different sorts of interviews. There were a lot of BITS alumni who were interviewers. Some of the interviews were taken by Dean Ranjan Banerjee himself. And you could even have people from the Aditya Birla group. So it was a really wide range of people. And the interview experience itself at BITSoM, I think it's very unique because it's really conversational and they're genuinely trying to get to know you as a person. And this is where knowing yourself, your values, your goals are really going to be helpful. So, for example, one of the questions that they asked me is what makes you you? And so having reflected on who I am as a person and my values, that was easier to answer. And my suggestion really for the interview process is to go through your CV and every experience that you've listed there, ask yourself what, why, and how. So if your CV says that, for example, you managed an event, you have to think about why did you apply for that role in the first place? What did you do? What were your successes, your failures, your challenges? And what did you learn from that experience? So, how did that change you as a person? So those are the different things you should think about for every element on your CV. That's really important. And of course, you should be prepared for some unexpected questions that will be part of any V-School interview. They might give you a topic and ask you to talk about it for a minute or two. They might ask you for your opinion on something. But really, for me, a large part of the interview was focused on the behavioral and situation based questions and getting to understand me.
Okay, great, great. And there are questions. Okay, I so questions around what was your CAT, GMAT, GRE score? It is. Usually it's like asking somebody their salary, but if these guys are open to it, I'm happy to ask them. So yeah, what were the scores?
I'll go first. I took GMAT and my score was 700.
Okay, and what's
Um,
the lowest GMAT? Sorry, Supriya. What's the lowest GMAT in general have you heard of in the class?
I think it's around 600 something. That's the lowest, and the highest goes at as high as 770.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good, good. All right, Supriya.
so I did GRE and my score was 330 on 340.
Okay,
And
and again, yeah.
yeah, so I'm not aware of the lowest GRE scores because I'm not sure how many people gave GRE in our batch, but the median score is 316.
Okay, 316. Great. And Shashank?
So I gave CAT, and my percentile was 97.2 or 97.3. I'm not sure, but about 97. And
Hmm.
I'm not aware of the lowest percentiles, but I've known people who've got 89 or 90 percentile, and highest I would say there are people who have scored 99 plus percentiles as well.
Okay, cool, cool. So, great,
Av-
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry to cut you, but the average is around 94 to 95 percentile for CAT.
Okay, great. So people like me who could not muster, could not go beyond 95, no matter how much I tried. Three times, by the way, for the benefit of the audience before I move on to GMAT. Okay. All right. And there's a question, when can we expect the first round of calls? So you guys are aware?
Yes, so I'll take this one. So if you've submitted with the GRE GMAT score, then you will hear about the shortlist within December, I would say. And if you have submitted without the score, then submit your CAT scores after the results are out in Jan. This is how the CAT people will be submitting. And the takers can, I mean, GRE GMAT takers or CAT can, the last date for their score submission is 22nd of March. So basically their application will be reviewed only when they fill in their marks.
Okay, but for example, for cat folks, it doesn't in any way diminish their chances because they're taking cat or
Right, no.
taking. Okay, great. There's another question from Arun around alum's perspective. So maybe something you can reiterate. Good MBA college is run by alumni. So currently, with some network is not so much. So it's actually non-existent right now. So how will you compete with other colleges? And that was again one of my questions. That where do you see now? The BITSoM brand going in the next say 5 years and then 10 years from now. What's your feeling? And again, unbiased, not because you're in the school, but in general, what do you see?
So I'll take the first part of the question, and y'all can chip in for the second part. So as far as alums are concerned, we do not have alumni, but uh, so the first question which you asked us was what were your reasons for choosing BITSoM? So one of the major reason why I chose BITSoM was it is backed by a very strong conglomerate. It's backed by the Birla Group. This is one of the major advantage which other B schools don't have. Most of the other B schools don't have. So and the other thing is, although we do not have BITSoM alums, but we like Samarth mentioned, I mentioned, Supriya also mentioned, I think we have BITS alumni, BITS Pilani alumni, whom we can connect to at any point in time, and we have experienced it firsthand. So I can actually vouch for it. So they actually reply to you very nicely, and they reply to you timely, I would say, because they also have that sense of belongingness about this institute, because it's related or it's pegged to that brand.
Okay, great. And the second part?
So I'll add to the first part as well, and then say something about the second part. For the first part, I think with the alumni, Samarth already mentioned the mentorship program, and I think that's important because a lot of our mentors are actually alumni of IIM Calcutta, because Dean Ranjan Banerjee and Dr. Deena Chatterjee, who are building this institute, they are from IIM Calcutta. And so we've been connected to a lot of them. And also, a lot of mentors are from the Aditya Birla group itself. So we definitely have that kind of connection to industry leaders. And my mentorship sessions so far have been absolutely incredible. They've been so nice and so helpful. For the second part of the question, which was where do I see BITSOM in 5 to 7 years, right? So for me, I think the one thing that BITSOM really excels at that I've seen is speed. So BITSOM was officially launched in January. By June, its founding class ready to go. By November, 95% of the founding class is placed for summer internships in some of the most coveted companies, the HULs, the Bains of the world. And so, considering that, and considering how motivated the people are who are building this institution, like Dean Banerjee and the AVG group, and the entire admin team, I do have faith that in 5 years, BITSOM is going to be one of the leading B schools in the country. And I specifically think that it's going to have a reputation just because of the curriculum. It's going to have a reputation for creating the most future ready and the most adaptable and intrinsically motivated MBA students, because that's what I'm seeing in the student body right now. And I think that's going to make it even more attractive in the eyes of recruiters in the years to come. So that's my take.
Okay. Samarth?
Yeah, I think I'll take the second part first, and then I'll move on to the networking part. So, where do I see BITSOM? As Supriya mentioned, definitely in the next 5 years as a top B school in the country, but in the long run, it will definitely be in the top 10 in Asia and a globally recognized B school in the world. Coming to the networking part, although Sashank and Supriya already mentioned about BITS alums and mentorship, I would go a step beyond to tell you about a little bit of networking that we guys are already doing and how we are connecting with the industry. One thing is that we are having this leadership series every week in which the student body, gets to interact with an industry leader. Like last week, we had someone from IBM, and then we had someone from Arthur D. Little. So all these people come and we speak to them about their career and how it has shaped up. And all the students, they are ready with all their queries, and the inquisitiveness is absolutely high. I will give a small anecdote that we took a step forward in one of our courses by Professor Lewis Martins. So, in that, we had two case studies about networking and leadership style, which was about Heidi Roizen and Paul Levy. So, those were the main characters of the case study. It was a Harvard case study. And then one of the student actually reached out to Heidi Roizen and Paul Levy, and they agreed for a talk. So we actually had a series with Heidi as well as Paul's, and it was completely student led and student driven. So you could see that students are already making an impact in the industry. And of course, there is a lack of BITSOM alum as such, but there is definitely a backing of BITS Pilani alums that is taking us forward. But in times to come, I mean, every year you'll be producing 140 alums. So we'll have a good alum network in the coming time.
Absolutely. And, for those who will be joining now, you'll have at least the three of them here as alums in the future. Another question that has come in on the placement report or the internship reports. Um, what is the average package so far, and when will the official report be out for the people to see?
So, like I mentioned, till now the median package has been 1.65 lakhs for 2 months, and as far as reports are concerned, to be honest, the reports will be out when everyone will be placed, and like the remaining 5% will be placed,
Fair.
and we are
Fair.
very hopeful that it will happen in this year itself. That is by December end.
Yeah, and enough time, I believe, because it'll start only by April. So, and the process is, as you said, the rolling one. So, December onwards, I believe it should be out. About 95% is a good number. And there's a question on, other than Ranjan sir and Leena ma'am, is there any permanent faculty?
As of now, there is no other permanent faculty apart from Ranjas and Leena ma'am. However, we have all the visiting faculty, so you will never actually feel that difference that he is not a permanent faculty. There is no compromise on the experience on the subjects.
Okay. And frankly, it doesn't matter because majority of the B schools have this kind of a model where somebody is teaching in a particular B school in India and they're permanent faculty outside. They just come in for that particular term and then they do it. So again, from my experience as well, it should not matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you actually get to experience NYU and Wharton without actually going to NYU and Wharton. So I think that's a good deal.
Yes. And yeah, specifically around senior professionals, when I say 5+ years of experience, right? Uh, what is the average experience that the BITSoM accepts, not Bitcoin? And somebody has almost 5 years of experience. So how good or bad it is for somebody like that?
So I would say there are around 15% of the batch has experience of around more than 4 years. Around there are 20 to 22 people who have experience of more than 4 years. So my flatmate has an experience of 8 years. He's worked with Morgan Stanley for more than 8 years. And the average experience of the batch is around, I would say, around 25 or 27 months, if I'm not wrong. And as far as the question which you asked, people with higher experience, I would say a 2 year MBA program is a must for people with more experience because they get an opportunity to do an internship. So it gives them like an extra opportunity to know where their interest actually lies. They can experience it firsthand in the industry itself. So I think 2 year MBA program for people who are actually looking to switch careers is very important.
That's correct. That's correct. And around the campus, will the BITSoM campus be ready by 2022?
23.
Okay,
By
so
23, we'll have the permanent campus. It will be in Kalyan. You can check out the details. I think it's given on the website, how it will look like and all that.
so basically, somebody starting next year, 1 year will be in a similar model as you guys, and then next year they'll be moved there. Most likely, yeah. Okay. Now on the clubs, and there was a question from. Okay, there's another comment coming in. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Roshni. I bought this mug from Amazon. I can share the link later on. It is a Lion King mug. Okay. Now, in terms of the clubs, right? So, what sort of clubs do you guys have and kind of activities that are going on from a professional and social standpoint?
Right. So we have 7 professional clubs and we have 8 hobby clubs. So in the professional clubs, we have consulting, finance, analytics, sustainability, operations, marketing, the standard areas. And then within the hobby clubs, we have theater, music, sports, public speaking, a book club, so a dance, a really wide range of activities represented there. We had some really fun activities so far. We had some fun Halloween events by the public speaking and book clubs. The finance club, this weekend we had a finance exam, so they've created an incredible dossier of resources for us to help us prepare for that. We have a public policy club that's going to be doing a crash course for all students and administration actually on COP26. So the clubs were so it's been just a few weeks or maybe a little over a month since the clubs were properly started up. So we're still in that mode of coming up with activities and actually conducting events on in the residence and on campus. But so far we've had some really cool events. So in terms of social life and club events, it's been nice. One thing I should also mention is we also have committees. So we have So committees are a mixture of students and administration. So for example, you have a marketing committee, you have an academic committee. So students represent the interests of students and work together with the administration to further the interests of students or to solve problems, address challenges, and things like that.
Okay,
So, Priya,
great.
you forgot to mention the people who place us. They've done a fantastic job.
Of course, the PlaceCom,
Yes,
stands
yes.
for the committee for any P school.
Yeah, good. Yeah, just a quick clarification. It was not Lion King, it was Madagascar. My bad. The Lion King was a different one. Then there's a question specifically around ABG's leadership program, the Lead and Leap, and Shashank, maybe you can take that. What is the recruitment process of ABG, and specifically right now in the internships, what did you go through? And I'm sure later on the Lead and Leap, the process is same across all campuses. So there is an activity, group discussion, interview, and that's it. Yeah. So what was your experience on internship?
So it's a three-step process, and I think it's common across B schools because I had spoken to a few folks from other B schools as well. So the first process is that you give a test, which is more or less a DILR section of your CAT examination, which has six sections. I would say the ABG test has 6 to 7 sections. You give a test, you get a result within a day, and next day you have your group discussion. I had my group discussion the other day, and on that day itself I had my personal interview as well. So basically it's a three-step process where you give a test, which is more or less DILR, a group discussion, which is a case study based group discussion and not any abstract topics. It's a proper case study based discussion. You have been given a case study and then you're supposed to discuss on it for around 10 to 15 odd minutes, and there's a personal interview. So about my experience about the interviews, it's really been, I would say I was really, there was anxiety, there were goosebumps when I was giving the interview. That's always going to be there. But the interview process was very smooth, especially because of the career services and the placecom team. We were getting time to prepare, we were getting timely responses. So apart from that, it was very smooth, I would say. There was nothing as such which went out of the park or something of that sort. It was a normal group discussion, a normal DILR examination, a normal personal interview where I was being asked or grilled upon my work ex. For freshers, it's more of their acad oriented interview, I would say. So it was a normal, and like any other company interview, I would say. The
Sure.
only differentiation point was a group discussion was based on a proper case study. I would say a live problem which the group faces.
Okay, interesting. And that preps you up for eventual placements also eventually, because these are the kind of things that happen there. There's a question again from an admission standpoint, and somebody who has a GMAT of 640. Uh, he says that I've been rejected by most B schools. Do I even apply to BITSoM?
uh, Let me take the first part of it, and then Supriya can add. I mean, understand this process. It's not like if you don't have XYZ scores, we're not going to even talk to you. So you put your best application forward. If you feel you can improve upon your score, do that. If not, then apply with 640. Put a good essay forward. If you put your journey in the essay, then you will pack up a good profile, and then you're going to submit that, and the team is going to evaluate that. So don't have that mentality of having a cutoff score. There's nothing called as a cutoff score here. You apply with whatever score you have with the essays. Apply, put all your work experience, do everything that you possibly can in the application, and then just leave. Let the team decide. Don't self reject yourself.
I think that's a great point, and I think also for a score of 640, you should probably connect with admissions because they can do a one-on-one profile evaluation for you, and it's very subjective, right? So even if you feel like your academic scores aren't the greatest, that's okay because you can always sell yourself on the extracurricular, co-curricular aspects or your internship experience. The It's all about talking about the best version of yourself, putting your best foot forward, and essentially you have to sell your story, whatever that story is.
Right, right. Thanks for that. Last couple of questions before we wrap up. Is there any textile-based company that came in for summer placements? Very specific, I know, but if you guys remember offhand, otherwise, Arun, you can reach out to the the admissions team, and they can definitely pull out the details for you. You guys know?
I No, I'm not aware of it. I think admissions team will be a better team to answer this question.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So,
Also,
yeah.
sorry, I just mentioned that ABG it did come, and ABG has textile-based businesses. So that is one kind of textile option. But in terms of specific textile companies, like Shashank said, you have to connect with admissions.
Okay. So question is, while BITSoM inculcates soft skills extensively through winning in the workplace sessions, are you planning to start another or a new Toastmasters club for BITSoM?
We already have one. I'm a part of it, like a public speaking club. So it is. We are still in two minds whether to make it a Toastmasters club or keep it as a normal public speaking club. As of now, it's a public speaking club, and like Supriya mentioned, we had put up one of the first events, the Halloween one, and we are also planning a few more events since the campus has started.
Okay. And for follow-up question on Toastmasters is it open for everybody or just the BITSoM students?
As of now, it's open just to BITSoM students. As of now, we haven't actually like decided on it because it's just been a month since we've started club activities.
Okay. Great. Great. Cool. So any parting thoughts, guys? I'll go, one by one to each one of you before we wrap up on a beautiful Sunday night, at least in Delhi. So Shashank.
So I just have one thought. As far as admission essays are concerned, since most of them are prospective MBA students, I would say just be honest and write your true story, and just don't try to paint a rosy picture. It won't help you in the interviews. It might help you get through the first step, but it will not help you in the second step. So I would say just be true to yourself, and like Samarth mentioned, let the other person decide. Don't get bogged down by your scores or something of that sort. That's the only one piece of advice which I would want to give.
Great. Thank you. Samarth.
Yeah, just adding on to that, everyone has done something great in their lives. So go deep down and understand what you have done. Put it in an essay. You have to put in efforts as to how you want to shape it up. It takes a lot of time. It takes multiple drafts. Show it to your friends, show it to your family members, reach out to seniors of your college. You can even connect with a few of us. We will help you out as to what points you can write. Other than that, going a step beyond in the interview, don't be scared of the interview. They are trying to know you, they're trying to understand what you have done, who you are. It's not a scary conversation. They are not trying to reject you, they're trying to select you. So don't worry about that. And I'm hopeful that I'll see a lot of you on the other side.
Great. Great. Supriya.
Right, just to quickly add to what Samarth mentioned, if you want to reach out to students, just check out the BITSOM page because a few LinkedIn profiles of some students are listed there if you want to connect with anyone. And the other thing, as I would say, parting words, is that I personally, have a lot of faith in this institution, and the last few months have been just such an amazing experience for me. I think the student body has, as I said, has been so lovely. The administration is clearly really motivated and really wants to build this up into something great, and I can already see the seeds of that being planted here. And so I really have a lot of faith in this institution, and I think that we would all really love to be the kind mentoring seniors to our juniors next year. So we'd love to see lots of people apply, and we'll do it.
Great, great, and no ragging for sure. Thank you so much, guys, for being candid, honest about the good, and more importantly, what's bad about BitSom as well, because a realistic picture is important for the future candidates. And good luck with your internships and rest of the MBA journey so far. And thank you again and have a good night. And for you all who joined the session, thank you so much for your questions on the chat or while the registrations happened. As they said, feel free to reach out to these guys for anything that you want to know about the school or generally about their MBA journey. And I will, come back in a few days or weeks with another school, another discussion, and hopefully as enriching as this one was. Thank you so much and have a good night.
Thank you, Manan.
Thanks, Manan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye bye.